The Marvel Cinematic Universe is one of the most
What anime understands about superheroes that Marvel doesn't? Well, Marvel used to understand superheroes during the pre-Endgame time.
iconic parts of Hollywood. And for a very long time, when people thought about superheroes, they immediately thought about the MCU. But while all of this was happening, on the other side of the world, anime was quietly releasing its own superhero stories. These two worlds didn't just feel completely different, they also had fundamentally different ideas about what a hero is. Fast forward to today, superhero anime is thriving. Okay, maybe not all superhero anime, but you get the idea. Meanwhile, the MCU
Apparently One Punch Man had one bad season.
feels kinda stuck, way less relevant, and struggling to recapture that magic it once had. But why? Why are people gravitating towards anime superheroes while slowly losing interest in Marvels? What does anime understand about this genre that the MCU doesn't? And ultimately,
Well, I'll counter it by Marvel MCU at its height. It got superheroes perfectly. It's just the new stuff that's terrible.
who actually does superheroes better? First thing you need to know is that the MCU has pretty much been around for nearly 20 years. To really see how it evolved, let's look at one of the earliest films, one from the middle, and one of the recent releases. And if we're doing this properly, we have to start with the movie that
The middle. If it's Infinity War, it's going to be great. If it's, if you're going to move the middle further along in time, it becomes less good.
started the whole thing.
2018, so it should still be okay.
Iron Man. Tony Stark is an absolute piece of garbage. He's arrogant,
Perfect.
mean, and his job is to make weapons. But then he gets attacked by people using the weapons he created. While being trapped in a tiny cave where he's forced to build them a missile, he realizes that maybe he should stop doing that once he leaves. So he creates the Iron Man suit, escapes, comes back and shuts down the weapons thing forever. Everyone loses their mind because he just decided to tank his own company's entire business. His mentor, Obadiah Stane, literally becomes a villain specifically because Tony's trying to do the right thing, and it's kind of messing up their...
No, that is wrong. Obadiah helped set up the ambush of Tony Stark at the beginning of the movie, before Tony Stark decided to do the right thing. So he had already betrayed Tony Stark before Tony Stark decided to become a good guy.
money. But ultimately, Tony creates the red and yellow suit we know and love, and he wins. Tony Stark started off bad, but now he's a hero. He was a genius who used his talent to create weapons that destroyed people. Now, he does the same to help them. The public loves him. He's smart, he's special, and not everyone can do what he does. Sure, he shakes things up for a bit, but by the end, everything's fine and actually better than before. Tony Stark has found his calling. Fast forward a couple of superhero movies, and eventually all these characters assemble to form the Avengers, which honestly you've probably heard about even if you've never watched a Marvel movie in your entire life. There's been a bunch of these films, but Infinity War is the one most people agree is
Yes, it's the best.
peak MCU. The whole plot is basically the Avengers trying to stop this guy called Thanos from collecting all the Infinity Stones, because if he gets them, he can literally snap his fingers and delete half of all life in the universe. And he does it. The movie ends with half the universe just turning into dust. Then the next movie comes out, and it picks up 5 years later. The remaining Avengers come up with this whole plan
Yeah, Endgame, not a great movie.
where they go back in time to steal
There's many things about it I absolutely hate. And not a lot of things I love. I'm trying to think of any part of Avengers Endgame that I loved. I can't think of a single scene, any part of the movie that I loved. But there were a bunch that I hated. And there's a bunch of scenes that I was meh.
the stones from the past, bring everyone back, and then have one final massive battle with Thanos to save the universe. The thing with these movies is that there are a ton of characters. It's an assembly of people we've met throughout the entire MCU up until that point. But ultimately, despite how different they are, all of them are there to do the right thing. It's the idea that heroes will always find a way to fix everything. Without heroes, Thanos wins. half of everyone stays dead, and the universe is permanently broken. But with heroes, even the most catastrophic loss can be reversed. Even the impossible becomes possible. Heroes are good. Heroes are necessary. Heroes are what saves us when absolutely nothing else can. One of the newest MCU movies is Thunderbolts, which they're literally also calling the new Avengers. It's about this team of people who are supposed...
I have the first 50 issues of Thunderbolts in the basement. Here we go. This is the Thunderbolts. Not one character in the original Thunderbolt comics is in the Thunderbolts the movie. Not one. It just uses a team name, but everyone's different in the Thunderbolts.
Supposed to be darker than your regular hero. You've got reformed assassins, ex-criminals, people with serious issues, basically anti-heroes. This is supposed to feel very different.
Yeah, Thunderbolts were more niche. They were one run of comic that they were about villains. They were pretending to be heroes, and they were evil. Like some of the leader, V, was Barrow Zemo, one of the big villains in Marvel. And all of them are pretending to be heroes to do a dastardly plot. And, well, it's fun. Some of them then decide they want to keep being heroes, while others, they want to continue with their plots. And it's a very exciting comic. The movie has nothing to do with it.
From the previous Avengers. The Thunderbolts are literally products of the superhero system. They were broken by it. As the movie goes on, they form a group not because they want to, but because it's the only way for them to survive. But here's the thing. Even though they've all done terrible stuff, the movie still frames them as redeemable. Sure, their actions are brutal and their methods are questionable, but the message...
Yeah, the original comic book, it was nothing about redeemable or not. It was villains pretending to be heroes for a purpose, and they knew they were pretending.
Message is the same we've been hearing this whole time. If you fight on the right side, you're one of the good guys. The movie asks if imperfect people can still be called heroes, and the answer is yes. At the end of the day, Thunderbolts is just reinforcing the same myth the MCU has been selling since Iron Man. That heroism, even when it's messy, is ultimately a good thing in the world.
Don't judge MCU by the message in this film.
World is better off with them because they're special and want to do the right thing. But before we get back to Marvel heroes, it is my pleasure to announce the sponsor of this video.
My pleasure to skip the sponsor of this video.
In the MCU, being a superhero is framed as...
The original Iron Man movie is great, and it launched the entire MCU, so you know it's good. It was a fun movie.
As a calling, a duty, usually driven by inner conviction. It's treated like something sacred, not a job you take, but a role you rise into. It's something that's reserved for a small number of people. This means that heroes are mostly trustworthy. This title is reserved for those who deserve it. If you see someone in a suit with a symbol on their chest, most of the time, you expect them to be good. Don't get me wrong, the MCU definitely explores the idea that heroes aren't always the solution. In fact, Captain America Civil War, which also happens to be my favorite movie in this entire thing, is an entire film that asks if heroes should be regulated and if they're actually helping in the first place. I haven't read too many comic books, so there's a good chance the vibe is completely different there. But the Marvel Cinematic Universe operates on the foundation that superheroes are special and that they are good for the world. They might cause collateral damage, but it's always justified by the bigger threat they're stopping. They might make mistakes, 100%, but they'll fix them. Their existence makes the world safer, more stable, more just. When a crisis shows up, heroes solve it. When a villain threatens humanity, heroes stop them. A world with heroes is better than a world without them. Superheroes are heroes because they're heroic. And this approach works really well for a bunch of reasons.
Failing to see anything wrong so far with this logic.
There's something deeply satisfying about knowing who the good guys are and watching them win. Thanos wants to destroy half the universe. He's wrong, and he needs to be stopped. Hydra wants to control the world.
A bunch of people out there that say Thanos was right, but let's ignore that.
They're evil, and they need to be stopped. This gives you clarity. The inspiration is real. It motivates people. It gives them hope. The MCU's approach works across cultures, ages, and backgrounds. Billions of dollars and a global cultural phenomenon don't just happen by accident. It translates globally because the core message, good beats evil, superheroes...
No, that's wrong. That core message isn't enough. Just look at how the latest Marvel films are flowing. You need a good story.
Are special is universal. We don't need to spend time debating whether the Avengers should stop the bad guy, or if the hero is in it for the right reasons. Of course they are. That's a given, which means that the story can focus on how they stop the villains. This efficiency lets Marvel tell epic stories across multiple films without losing momentum. This approach to superheroes is a deliberate storytelling choice with real strengths.
I have to disagree because you hear it all the time, origin story. The origin story of the hero. That is the reason they're doing what they're doing. In some movies, they skip it because, for example, if it's Spider-Man, you know it already. It's happened 100 times. Well, you've seen it in the comics. You've seen the origin story of Spider-Man several times, so maybe they skip it. And like that, they can get to the plot of whatever movie, of whatever villain is doing, like Thanos. They don't do an origin story every movie.
But it also has a few weaknesses. By assuming heroes are good and special by default, the MCU shuts down entire categories of questions. It can't.
It doesn't. It doesn't, though. Like the first Captain America movie, it shows how he becomes a hero. That is doing what he wants. That is showing that he was how an ordinary person ends up being a hero. He's talking about movies like Infinity War where they don't have the origin story part of it, so they don't have that. But at the beginning of the MCU, Iron Man, the first Thor, the first just the Captain America movie, blah.
Really explore whether heroes create the problems that they solve. It can't really examine whether society would be better off without them, or what it truly means to be a hero. There are movies.
Yes, they do. The first Iron Man movie, there was an Iron Man. At first, there's no Iron Man, and then there's Iron Man in the world. And we, the audience, through the process of that movie, can see, okay, that's the world without Iron Man. It's fucked. With Iron Man, it's better, and we can see it. So Marvel does explore that.
Where it does it a little bit, 100%, but it rarely goes deep. And this is where I want to switch to anime, because I think that it sometimes takes this whole superhero thing in a slightly different direction. It's a subtle shift, but it completely changes how these stories feel. I'm going to show you a couple of them, starting with probably the most popular superhero anime out there. My Hero Academia is set in a world where superpowers are just normal. Here, they're called quirks, and approximately 80% of people have them. When these powers first started showing up, society completely fell apart. There's this whole period called the Quirk War, where everything was just chaos. Superpowers appeared out of nowhere with zero warning, and as people developed them, society had absolutely no idea how to handle it. Governments couldn't keep up, law enforcement was useless, and for a while, it was just pure insanity. It wasn't until after this whole era that they finally implemented a formal hero system with licensed heroes, regulated quirk usage, and actual laws. So now, professional heroes are everywhere. Being a hero is literally just a job. But in this world, people aren't just people who save others. They're also celebrities. They have rankings, merchandise, and fan clubs. The series really digs into how turning heroism into a market changed everything. Some heroes are competing for media attention and high-profile rescues instead of focusing on people who genuinely need help. Some of them pick easy cases that'll boost their stats. The #1 hero, Endeavor, mentally and physically destroyed his family for years because he was obsessed with surpassing his rival. And what happens to him? Legally, nothing. A ton of heroes get treated horribly because their powers made them look different from regular people. Almost all the villains in MHA exist because of a world that has superpowers. When the series ends, the characters figure out ways to help people with powers, and guess what? The number of villains goes down, and there's less of a need for heroes, so their number drops too. MHA shows us that superheroes are protectors, sure, but they're also the product of a broken system. The whole series is basically asking, is society better off with or without them? One Punch Man is an extremely popular superhero anime that is technically a comedy, but weirdly enough, it explores this stuff way more deeply than...
It's a comedy, but it's serious at times. Those are the best types of comedies.
you'd expect. The story is set in a world where superpowered monsters are constantly showing up and threatening to destroy entire cities. To deal with this, society creates the Hero Association, which is basically a formal organization that licenses heroes, ranks them, and deploys them, kind of like in My Hero Academia. But here's what Hero Society is kind of ignoring. The system is broken and biased. The Hero Association cares way more about rankings and public relations than they do about actually protecting people. And One Punch Man doesn't shy away from this at all. The series literally shows us heroes who ignore low-level threats because they're not worth the effort. Heroes who care more about their rankings than helping people. Heroes who are only in it for the fame, the money, or their own ego, instead of genuinely wanting to protect anyone. Heroes are ranked from Class C to Class S. But
Okay, here's the thing. Japanese animes, they're labeling people heroes that aren't heroes. In the American side, the MCU, every MCU hero is a hero. In the anime side, there's what they call heroes, just a type of person, like crime fighter, that not necessarily a hero. Some of the heroes do act heroically, do save the day. Some of them, like you said, they just do it for fame, money, and just don't really care. So they're not really heroes. Not all of them.
Being an S-class doesn't automatically make you brave or altruistic like a hero should be. For example, you've got this hero called Amai Mask. He's this handsome, charismatic hero.
By the way, there are characters like this in the MCU too, or at least Marvel Comics. Characters that are sometimes heroes, sometimes not. Like Venom. Venom is an example of a murderous guy, but he's often sometimes heroic. Just saying.
Hero operating as A-class rank.
Deadpool hero, but he does kill people, a lot of people. So he's saying that it's completely different from the MCU is wrong. They have these heroes that aren't completely heroes in the MCU too. And breaks the fourth wall, yes. I hope you've at least seen Deadpool, because Deadpool is really fun.
Rank 1, just below the elite S-class tier. He's massively popular with the public, constantly on camera, basically seen as the face of heroism itself. But underneath all that, he's ruthless, manipulative, and obsessed with controlling.
And it's funny, he's talking about heroes that aren't really heroes. Thunderbolts, the original comic, explored exactly this. These were heroes that were not really heroes. These were heroes that were villains. If they'd done the Thunderbolts right in the MCU, it would have been exactly what this guy's talking about. So they're not fundamentally different. Marvel has the heroes that aren't heroes, too.
The hero image. But on the other hand, you also have heroes like Moomin Rider. In pouring rain, and with absolutely zero powers, he stands alone against the monstrous Deep Sea King, an enemy who has already crushed some of the strongest heroes. He knows he can't win, but he charges anyway.
Marvel has those guys too. Everyday heroes, like a cop that does something heroic, or fireman. But the problem is that they're not always in the story because they're just regular humans that you're not interesting to make a comic book about.
Shouting that it's a hero's duty to fight for the people, no matter the odds. Each time he's knocked down, he gets back up. It's not strength that makes him heroic, or the fact that he's a registered hero. It's his refusal to back down. There are definitely other series that go down this route, like Tiger and Bunny. But I also want to talk about this Chinese anime that I think takes this concept and just goes to the absolute extreme. It is called To Be Hero X. Basically, in this world, superpowers literally come from how much the public believes in you. Like, you become a hero when people trust you enough that this trust value thing manifests as actual real powers. This doesn't even need to be because you did something heroic. There are a lot of characters who get high trust scores purely because they're popular on social media or something. The more trust you have, the stronger you become. And it updates in real time based on public opinion. Now, because fame
Why in the world would you set up a system like this? This seems awful.
literally equals power in this world, you've got these hero agencies who are out there recruiting celebrities and influencers and turning them into heroes like they're running a talent agency. The public literally determines who wins fights. If your reputation takes a hit and people lose faith in you, your trust value drops in real time and you immediately get weaker. No fans, no power. The whole thing is basically being manipulated.
How can there be villains in this world unless there's sometimes a very basic societal wrong that... Yeah, no, because you need to be famous. I don't know. How would you villains in this?
Being a hero isn't some noble calling. It's basically a profession engineered by people in power. Like, hero agencies are actively creating personas of their heroes to appeal to the public. There's this one hero called Nice, who was literally constructed as the perfect hero down to the smallest detail. They did stuff like give him elegant hobbies, and they even arranged a staged nemesis for him to fight regularly purely to boost his popularity. But it's all fake. His rival is...
Exactly. You couldn't have any real villains in this because people don't trust villains. So there can never have a powerful villain in this world.
Actually his best friend in real life. A lot of heroes have origin stories or gimmicks that are just tailored for mass appeal. Ghostblade deliberately cultivated this mysterious online image as a silent, cool assassin to gain followers. And then his agency reinforced that in all their marketing. The series shows how the pressure of being a hero, essentially living as the walking embodiment of other people's expectations, inflicts serious psychological damage. A lot of heroes in this show are trapped by their own image. Look, there are definitely anime with classic heroes that are portrayed as dead.
Again, are these really heroes? If there's no villains in this world, are there any heroes? No, there aren't any heroes if there's no villains.
Gods. But in a lot of them, it's much less special than that. Sometimes it's literally just a job. Clock in, clock out. There are schools.
No, if it's just a job, it's not a hero. It's a crime fighter. That's you just call it a crime fighter. It's Japanese calling things heroes that aren't heroes. That's basically all this is. Like Genos, actual hero. He wants to help people. Saitama, same thing. Those are heroes. Some of the Hero Association members are also heroes. They want to help people. Some of them are crime fighters, but not heroes.
You can get promoted and you can get fired. Other times there are people straight up betting money on whether heroes win or lose. And then sometimes their actual powers are tied to how popular they are. The whole superhero thing loses its magic. It stops being this glamorous calling and becomes something way more ugly. These people can be noble, sure, but they can also be corrupt and completely broken. But here's the real question. Which approach is better? And honestly, the answer is complicated. If superhero stories are supposed to inspire us, give us hope, and make us feel that we can become special, then the MCU does this amazingly. But if superhero stories are supposed to make us think about the negative impact of power, then anime can do a more honest and relatable job. The MCU often treats it as only those who already have the right heart become heroes.
No, all these heroes have origin stories. Like Tony Stark didn't have the right heart at the beginning of that movie. He gained the right heart. He had an entire movie, a process, an origin. He became special. He was ordinary. Then he became special.
Well, anime often treats heroism as something more simple. Most people can be called a hero, but few truly are. And this changes what kinds of stories you get. Both can be powerful.
Marvel has them too. Heroes that are called heroes that aren't really heroes.
But they tell very different things. But in that case, why is superhero anime doing so well while the MCU is kind of...
Well, he's not going to even mention the wokeness, the bad writing in the MCU. I mean, that's entirely the reason it fell off. Is the trash writing. Even if you take out the wokeness, whatever, you go see the movies, they're terrible. Plot makes no sense. The acting is bad. It's just, they're terrible movies. And add wokeness to that on top.
Struggling. Well, personally, I think it's because anime can actually do both of these things. These series show you that heroism is...
No, if you're going to compare the two, compare the Infinity War, the good part of the MCU. You can't say it's doing badly just because you have bad movies. Ranting. Yeah, it is interesting, but I'm being completely serious. The MCU has fallen off because they've just made bad movies about bad characters. Okay, first phase of the MCU, the beginning of the MCU that was good, they found comics that were popular, that tons of people read, that tons of people loved. The story in those comics were good, and they took that and they made movies out of it. In the second half of the MCU, they took characters that were bad, whose comics never sold, no one liked them, and they made movies out of those characters.
Proton snail.
A proton snails. Yeah. The Thunderbolts were good, but you see in the Thunderbolt movie, in this video he showed, none of those were the same characters that were in this. This had good story. If this had been the Thunderbolts movie, it would have made a lot of money. So, but that's not what they did. They completely rewrote it into something trash. Yeah.
Complicated, but they don't say heroism is worthless. For example, My Hero Academia questions whether building society around powers is a smart move, but it still shows us real heroes in action and real heroism, the determination to save.
You can't ask if there is powers in the world, you're going to have people that use those powers for good and people that use them for evil.
Save everyone, putting your life on the line to help those in need. The slow, hard work of building a better world despite all the issues going on, it's all there. But at the same time, you also get an honest look at what those powers cost and what they can do to people. It gives you heroes to root for and reasons to question whether having them is a good thing. It says, power is dangerous, but sometimes necessary. Heroism is complicated, but still valuable. Systems corrupt people, but individuals can fight against that corruption. Good intentions aren't enough, but they still matter. Listen, I grew up watching the MCU, and at the time, I absolutely loved it. But honestly, looking back at these movies now, I think that the ones that age the best are the ones that ask these questions, like Civil War, or even the first Iron Man to a certain extent. Even though I've read like 3 superhero comic books, I'm kind of gravitating more towards them nowadays because I can just see that there's a larger variety of stories. There's a reason why a lot of...
No, you're graduating towards it now because the latest MC movies are trash. And when your alternative is trash or anime, you choose anime.
People who were teenagers like me when they watched the MCU don't connect with it as much now. And when I look online, I definitely don't feel like younger people are connecting to it either. There are times when you need...
I can't believe it. I can't believe he did this entire movie and he doesn't address the elephant in the room. That the current MCU is woke trash and the movies are just bad. It's deceptive not to add that in.
Use approach, when you need inspiration, when you need hope, when you need to believe that courage matters and that good can beat evil. But considering the world we live in now, I think that we also need something more honest. It feels like people don't want more stories about heroes who always make the right call. They want more stories about the costs of making the right call. And I think that's what superhero anime can give sometimes. It asks whether concentrating...
Marvel asks these questions too. The heroes in the good MCU movies make mistakes all the time.
Power in individuals, no matter how good their intentions, is ever truly a good thing. It suggests that maybe the problem isn't...
Also, you failed to explain this show to me. I still don't understand how it makes any sense, because a superhero show that has no villains, how does that make any sense whatsoever? How's there any stakes to it? If you didn't address how the villains work in this thing, people don't understand.
Finding the right heroes. Maybe the problem is needing heroes in the first place. Ultimately, I do think that both of these have a similar message. With great power comes great responsibility. But anime's approach can feel more relevant. It shows that power is about what you do.
Gives you an emote ideas for these types of situation videos? Well, that's great. I need emotes. I'm eventually going to become affiliate. I have to do that at some point.
When others decide not to do it. It says heroism matters precisely because heroes are not always the good guys. These aren't stories about people who do the right thing just because...
No. Heroes are always the good guys. If they are not the good guys, then they're not heroes. Plain and simple. There's something that's being called heroes, but they're not heroes. You're messing up. You're taking enemies that call crime fighters heroes, and that's just wrong. A crime fighter isn't necessarily a hero.
It's the right thing to do. These are stories about people who do the right thing in a world where it would be so easy not to.
Yeah, it's obvious in these animes that they use hero for the equivalent of crime fighter, and these aren't hero in terms of being heroic. And he doesn't address that, and He doesn't address the fact that the MCU became bad because it became all girl bosses that are Mary Sue's, that are perfect, that have no flaws, with terrible plot lines, yeah, etc. Anyway, this will be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Can watch Kick or Twitch, and I'll see you next video. Bye.